The concept is that men and women, they have different languages, and so the way they go into the crazy cycle is usually when men they're not respected, then they don't show love to the woman, and then when woman doesn't receive love, then she's gonna disrespect the men, and so what happens? It just goes around and around. It doesn't actually get better.
Oh, this is what you're talking about, Lee.
Yeah.
What we just
Yeah, I was like,
discussed.
please
Yep.
put up the circle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
We
need
can
a
de-escalate
visual.
it.
Yeah, I'm a visual person.
But sometimes we think that if we, the way to get women, it's kind of stupid, but men think that in order to receive more respect, it's by disloving them, not loving them. And then women, stupidly, also think, oh, if I disrespect him, then maybe he'll treat me with more love. Okay, and which doesn't work at all. Okay, so we said instead we need to go into the energizing cycle, which is how can we better love her and how can we better respect him so that we're in a really, really good cycle instead of the crazy cycle. Okay, and that's what we're going over. So once again, disclaimer, Lee already mentioned it, but you don't have to agree with this whole series, especially with the whole gender thing. Okay, if you think the whole gender thing is rubbish, no problem. The concept is you can still learn to love and respect people better, regardless of the gender. So if you think this is not a gender thing, totally fine. Better love and respect somebody. And the next one, you don't have to be, the whole book is based on people who are married, but I don't think you necessarily have to be married to understand all of these principles. You can still learn something out of it, whatever relationship you are in. Like this one, I think this next one, I think it'll be very useful. All right, peacemaking. She wants you to say, I'm sorry. By the way, normally we just go over 1 and 1, but today we're going to go over 2 and 2. Okay, because I thought some of them were kind of, the content wasn't very good. So I think we'll get the gist of the stuff itself, and then we'll just move on, okay? So the slides are going to be short as well. So first one, peacemaking. She wants you to say, I'm sorry. When there is a rift, a conflict, even a sense of tension, you and your wife are not at peace, and therefore you can't really feel connected. Without peace in your relationship, she doesn't feel close. She doesn't feel you're open, and she certainly thinks you don't understand. Okay, next.
Okay, obviously, when the sparks fly and a couple has a conflict, serious or minor, there is a risk. It can go one of two ways. Sparks can cause a controllable fire that heats the house and makes things warm and comfortable. Or sparks can set a wildfire that burns the house down. All married couples must realize that the sparks are going to be there. The question is, how will you control them?
Yeah, so the author is basically talking about there are some people who think once they go into marriage, that in a good marriage you don't fight at all. There's going to be no conflict whatsoever. And he's basically saying that's not necessarily true. Okay? That there's going to be some kind of conflicts. Why? Because it's two human beings coming together, living together. Of course, there's going to be differences and conflicts. So there's different ways of handling conflict. It's not avoiding conflicts altogether. How are you going to handle the conflict? You can handle it very well, and then it's going to cause warmth. The other way to handle it, it burns literally the fire down. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Changlen?
As you have conflict, your wife will probably recognize it much sooner than you do. She can feel rejected by you in a way that you do not feel rejected by her. Consequently, she wants to have things resolved between the two of you, and she will move towards you to get this done. This is very precious to her.
Yeah. Do you guys remember a couple of lessons ago we talked about how like girls and guys are different in the sense that if you break one of the lights for a girl, like all of it shuts down, whereas guys, they're like, it's like different compartments. So even if you break this down, like they can function on their own. And so this is what it's talking about, how as not all women, but most women, if you have a conflict in one area, then it affects all of their areas. Okay, that's what it's talking about here. Let's continue. Peace. If you don't mind reading for us.
When a woman says, I'm sorry, to her, it's an increase of love. But when a man says, I'm sorry, he fears that he will lose respect. Therefore, men have a difficulty apologizing. This is especially true if he says he's sorry for something, and then his wife brings it up again, because she isn't convinced he means it.
Hmm.
She simply thinks the issue is not resolved and it must be discussed some more. But he thinks she has just violated his honor code. For him, going over it again is a lot more serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag.
Okay.
But anyways,
So again, this is why it's talking about for women. I'm sorry is very important because she wants to make peace as soon as possible because her whole world has been affected by this conflict. But whereas men, they're like, well, let's talk about this. Let's see who's right or wrong. Okay, let's analyze this and see. Hey, do I really need to apologize for this? Let's analyze it, kind of a thing first. And so that's why men and women prefer, hey, just say sorry and let's resolve the conflict. And then we could talk about some of the other details later. Whereas men, it's like, no, let's talk about the details. Okay, let's fix this issue. And then we could say sorry or not. Okay? That's what he's talking about here. And so for men, most men have a hard time apologizing because of this issue.
It's easy enough, of course, to just accuse the male of being proud. I'm not saying that there is not some element of pride involved here, but mixed in with male pride is a deep sense of honor and wanting respect. For all husbands, I want to say I've been there. I've had to push through and say to Sarah, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And when I finally convinced her that I meant it, it healed her spirit. Those simple words put her at peace. A wife can be extremely upset, but if a husband humbly expresses sorrow for what he did, she melts.
Okay.
Peacemaking can be difficult, but it is always worth it. It's ironic that a lot of men work out in the weight room trying to make themselves look like Mr. Universe because they think that women get turned on to a hard body the way men are turned on to a female in a bikini. This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work this way. What turns her on is personality. Oddly enough, one of the things that really turns her on is saying, in genuine humility, I am sorry, please forgive me.
Yeah. Okay. So again, men think, oh no, I'm too prideful, or I'm too man to say sorry. But we actually have to understand, sorry is one of the best things. It's very difficult, right? But yeah.
yeah, it's because.
But
it's
if we
your
could
ego.
finish, yeah.
It's your ego coming out.
Yeah, it's not necessarily always ego, but yeah, definitely it could be.
No, it is.
Yeah, we don't want to generalize,
I'm not
but
generalizing.
you don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah.
It's mostly with men. It's always the ego. I mean, women too.
Yeah.
We all have egos.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you can't say sorry. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're like, you're too prideful.
Okay, so let's go back to our groups and then discuss what we think about this, what we have talked about so far. Okay, go ahead. Get back to your, and then Lee, you could go with Todd, and then you three over there, and then group over there. You go. Why don't you join Abel? Why don't you explain fill him in and what we just talked about, and
Going
then
over this topic of it's far a little bit more difficult for us to say that we're sorry. I will say sorry.
so like explain to him why it's harder for men, and then why it's so why women need to really hear it.
I guess for us, like the way I understand it, like you say sorry, you mean it, that's it, move on. For them, they really truly want it. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, please forgive. They want to hear your sincerity. Until they don't hear that, then they won't let it go. Because they feel like they've been hurt. All their emotions are revolved on this. You did me wrong, yeah, you're sorry, but do you really mean it? Yeah. And they might bring it up again. And like, oh, this is enough, but no. They bring it up.
This happened, but I didn't mean it. I'm sorry that you felt that way, and I will try to be careful next time.
I don't.
That kind of story.
All right, keep going. So what do you guys think about that?
I like being wrong. I really do. I'd rather be corrected. It's just something about me. I guess it's just through my life trials. But for the most part, I know I'm not always right. So it's like if I make a mistake, I will gladly accept it and communicate with it and learn from it.
Was it intentional?
So therefore, for me, if I make a mistake and I screw up, I don't take it too badly, but I can. It depends on what it's on. But
I wouldn't say.
for
so.
something like this, like to me, this is a trauma. For me, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm wrong. So
Yeah, even say.
I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Let's learn from this and move on.
I think, like, for me, it's like, I said I'm sorry, forgive me, let's move on, you know? But for me to be, like, penalized, that's like, again, like, what do you want me to say? Get in my knees? I mean, what else do you need from me? It's like, you know what I mean? Take my word for it. Take my actions, you know? I am truly sorry. What else do you need? It's like, it's kind of hard for me.
I will not go to that level.
We need to understand, like, they're not intentionally doing it. Maybe mistake, maybe, like, I contemplated, so we need to.
No, but like, what do you want? No, I'm not saying I would do it, but I'm saying, what do you want from me? Because like I said, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna go down on my knees, but it's an expression of saying, what else do you want from me? Like, look, I said I was sorry. I was wrong. Let's move forward. Okay? I'm not gonna kneel down on my knees like, you know? But yeah.
From the trauma,
There's
you
a,
know,
in Korean, they say,
like either take it and accept it, or reject it.
to the husband.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
More or less. Oh, I'm sorry. And then
That used to be that way.
Okay.
And at some point, yeah,
It's like, you make mistakes as well, and I'm not, you know,
No, that's not.
you're not gonna kneel on me either, but, you know.
but if it's not like a genuine thing, then that's when it becomes a problem. Like, if you see the change,
And then they
sure,
were
okay,
asking
let's
us
see.
the people.
Sorry, I made a mistake, but you keep repeating and repeating, and you're like, okay,
Like, you know, 2 years, and then they were saying, like,
That's what I'm saying, like, I think I have the hardest time dealing
and
with
I wanted you to know
like this.
that you need
I'm
to
sorry, I was
not do
wrong.
that anymore. If you just say sorry,
they
you don't
just-
even know
you
what
get
what
past
you're
this,
sorry for,
just
you're
move
gonna
on.
do that again and again, right?
Like they like to like linger there, like, okay, they might bring it up come on again. There we were past this. Yeah,
And then the Korean guy is saying, okay, sorry, I don't know. Tell me what I did. Don't ask me why. I don't even know.
probably sometimes it's like one of those things, sorry, but if you notice that I'm stirring away, kind of like giving a heads up. Like sometimes I don't pay attention to what I'm doing.
What was the acronym for woman?
Connect. I think it was connected.
Oh, yeah.
Openness.
It's openness. I forgot. I don't know.
It starts with openness,
I forgot.
closeness.
I'll tell you afterwards. I have to look it over my notes. Okay, let's go to the next one. Loyalty. She needs to know that you are committed. Is it least? Okay, go ahead.
How much do you love me? It happens in almost every marriage. Wanting reassurance about his love, she asks, how much do you love me? Will you love me when I'm old and gray? What if I get Alzheimer's? There are two ways a husband can go with this question. The wrong way leads straight back to the crazy cycle. You just joke around. You say, what's the matter? I won't trade you in for a new model. Don't be silly. I plan to keep you around at least for a while.
Okay. Okay. It's not just marriages, of course. This can happen within relationships as well. Okay. But the concept is like, again, they'll go, why do you love me? Why are you dating me? Like things like that. Okay. Okay. So this idea is like they want a reassurance. Okay. Why is it this? All right. Let's keep going. A wife may know that her husband is kidding when he says things like this, but the big dumb buck is stepping on her air hose nonetheless. When she asks, do you love me? She's not asking for information. She's asking for reassurance. Okay? The much smarter and wiser answer to our question, okay, write it down, guys, okay? Of course, I love you. We're going to get old and gray together. Okay? And that's why like when girls watch like movies with guys and girls like growing up together, they're like, "Aww," right? It's this idea of like reassurance. She wants this because reassurance of your love energizes her. Okay? So Again, guys could take it really like, oh, this is just a joke. It's not really a big deal. Why is she asking me this? But for girls, this is a serious thing. Keep going.
Your wife knows she's a one-man woman, that she's committed to you, but she may wonder at times if you are a one-woman man. It's perfectly natural for a wife to think this, particularly when she sees her husband being attracted by beautiful female walking by or on TV. She takes this as a possibility that he might be unfaithful to her. To be candid, she is insecure in this area and she needs reassurance. No jokes and teasing.
Right. Again, so that's why, guys, we have to be a lot more sensitive when it comes to this, knowing that this is an insecurity for many women. Let's keep going.
One of the finest examples of a loyal husband I have found is the story of Robertson McQuilkin, who left his position as president of Columbia Bible College after 22 years because his wife had developed Alzheimer's disease. The disease had progressed to the point where his wife simply could not stand having him gone, even for a few hours. She would actually think he was lost and would go in search of him after he left home for work.
Okay. So again, the wife has Alzheimer's, and then so he decides, I'm not going to put her in a home, I'm going to quit my job instead and take care of her. Let's keep going.
His decision was difficult, but in a way it was simple. He said, the decision was made in a way 42 years ago, when I promised to care for Maria in sickness and in health, till death do us apart. McQuilkin went on to say that he wanted to be a man of his word, and he also wanted to be fair. His wife had cared for him sacrificially during all of those 42 years, and if he cared for her for the next 40 years, he would not be out of her debt.
Yeah. So basically, he's saying, number one, I promised her when we got married that even in sick or health, okay, that I'm gonna take care of her. I'm gonna be with her. So I'm gonna keep those promises. And second thing is, she has been sacrificing so much for me for 40 years. If next 40 years I have to do the same thing, then that's fine with me. Let's keep going.
McQuilkin wrote a book about his experience, A Promise Kept, and then that he mentioned how startled he was by the response to his resignation to care for his wife. Husbands and wives renewed marriage vows. Pastors told his story during sermons. It was all a mystery to him until oncologists, who dealt constantly with dying people, told him, almost all women stand by their men. Very few men stand by their women.
Okay, so he wrote about this book, and that's how a lot of people know about it. And so many people were inspired by this story. And the writer himself, he was just like, oh, I thought, a lot of people do this. And so he was surprised, why are so many people taken back by this story, like the fact that I quit. And then he realized it's because many women are willing to stay with a man for a long time. But a lot of men are not willing to stay with women. And that's why so many people were inspired by this story. Okay. So again, the whole concept is, again, women need a reassurance. And so whenever they ask you questions like, why do you love me? Or why are you dating me? Or are you going to be with me forever? Then you have to give a very wise answer. Okay, that was section number 2. What do you guys think? You agree, disagree, just your thoughts? Get together with your groups once again. Go for it.
We kind of have a trust quota or in the party. It's not one time.
Huh? You want to change your paint color?
Not close.
You guys talking? Have a conversation. You want to come over here, Richard?
Because of my kids?
No. Come over here. So you're not.
The most scary thing for me is something that to practice
I disagree. I'm the one that's like, why do you love me?
And let's give him some reassurance hug right here.
Oh no. You guys aren't women.
we have dated for about.
No, but
Wait
I
for
think
my
I act
gym
like a
membership
girl.
to expire, bro. We'll be gym members for life.
No, don't go in the hole. Keep going. Go ahead.
Oh, I think I act like a girl.
She was in Korea. I was.
Why is that?
Like all the things that it's saying about like what girls do is what I'm thinking and
So you
doing.
have insecurity issues.
Yeah, I think I'm just like a mama's boy and I just like became feminine a little bit, but I don't look like a woman.
You see everything.
I'm not gay, don't
No,
worry.
it's not. Like, you see, like,
You don't have to be gay, bro. It's happy and safe.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not feminine necessarily. Yeah.
I choose.
I don't know.
How about this? How about this? Have you experienced this before then? When you were dating a girl?
Which part?
Like Richard, like
Of
do you
course.
love me? Like tell me why you love me. That's kind of
Well,
stuff.
something that I we've been
I think most of the women I've dated are more like they do the men stuff.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm like not used to it.
I see. So you resonate more with this right here, which is fine. That's okay. Yeah.
But I want to be a man.
Even though they're not married.
No, this is just a generalization. Yeah. It's not doesn't mean you're a woman if you do this or you're a man. Yeah. What do you? Can you resonate with this at all?
In Korea?
I've had it was like, do you love me? Why do you love me?
We had like a couple of
Then you go through this stupid cycle of, explaining yourself.
This is my boundary. No one's gonna take it.
It becomes like
not gonna come. They know that I'm
waste of
fine.
time.
Yeah, I agree.
But the way he said it, I want to get old with you,
So like,
and even if you have Alzheimer's, I'm like, okay, it's just kind of like, oh really, you love me that much?
Yeah.
but we never had worry about it.
It's just like you just have her
What
stop,
about
just like
quit?
quit.
You guys never had this like
So
conversation?
I think that's a great strategy.
My
You
name
have to go.
means like change. So I can go by.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So just straight to the point.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More tragic.
I could be wrong.
Or
Could could be totally wrong.
I think a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
maybe were.
Yeah.
It's reasons why you like somebody for me. So just tell them, yeah, I like you, go on, list a few things, and then drop a question of like, why what's wrong with you?
Multiple meanings.
Yeah, that's what I've done.
Yeah. It's like, hey, it's bothering you. If they say, oh, I just wanted to hear it, you just keep going.
So,
That's my
this
take on
is
it.
what I told my mom. Like,
Sorry, I totally blanked out. So you resonate with it, or yes or no?
for me, we married.
I resonate with it. Like whenever I would get asked, I would just list off things just off the top of my head. And then I drop the question of like, why is something the matter, like something bugging you? And then if they say no, you just keep going a few more, and then you just end it so you can go do something else. Be like, what's
Do they feel better? Do they feel better at the end when you list stuff off?
She doesn't say anything. And then she was like,
I would go like, what's trouble?
like,
What's troubling you? You're like an NPC.
she doesn't like me, right?
Yeah, it's like,
But
it's
because,
like,
you know,
what's troubling you at heart?
she's very independent.
Like,
I was like,
But it could
Is
be
this-
like, well,
like,
you
she's
think
like,
she's
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? It's like, why are you so insecure? I mean, I'm with you.
I'm insecure.
or you can go,
What makes you
you're
insecure?
gonna get married.
You,
Yeah, and then.
with all the women you look at.
Guarantee 100%, but like, she doesn't see the reason why.
You're trying to role play.
No, that's a serious question. That's a serious question. No, that's a serious
That
question.
is.
We have kids.
No, I saw you when she passed us by.
She's gonna enjoy her.
Last Tuesday, 10:38 p.m.
You get too realistic. No, but seriously, I don't know. Everybody hearing that every now and then, they're looking at somebody else like,
I think
It's like,
I can
oh,
say like
maybe
this.
okay, like, what's okay for them to, like, remarry.
you should be like, oh, she had something on her
But I
face.
don't think I can. I don't think my wife will.
I like her, like,
My best
Anger.
friend.
nose.
Because of
There's
the.
something in her nose. That's why I was staring at it.
In like 2 years.
Who's like gonna do like white lies, huh? White lies to make people
Oh,
feel
you
better?
have to. I don't like to lie, but when it comes to that, I'm like, wow.
we have to.
Just like,
I channel all
put it
I
under
mean-
the rug or
Or
something.
the harmonizing,
Keep it under the rug.
harmonizing one, I know.
Yeah, I try, but it's really interesting.
So one of my friends had a safety.
NSA is watching you.
For many years.
Huh?
The NSA is watching you.
NSA?
The
Who's that?
character
After
is
she passed away.
Never mind.
A couple years.
Oh, it's close. So.
I know.
She married to another person, so.
Your mic is
She was like.
But your mic's not.
I know it's definitely not.
Yeah, no, totally can resonate.
It's the same, like.
Nice.
What about you?
So
Can you resonate with this?
I 100% agree. I'm like, why are you asking me? This is a waste of time. Like, if it's like if I didn't like you, then I wouldn't be with you.
That look at me and like,
took care of him, and he was like,
But it also makes sense, you know. There's certain things that you might be doing, or you know, they might be going through something where they feel insecure about something. So it makes sense.
I was like,
yeah, they're like, if there's a question, are you telling me this because you want to cut it off, or?
I see.
It's like,
I see. I see.
I'll go straight to the point. It's like,
Yeah.
are you not? Are you trying to tell me something?
Yeah.
according to the Bible,
Do you not want me to go? And it's like, I'll back off if you want. It's like, to make it easier for both.
Yeah.
the one reason that they can
Yeah.
do it
Why are you?
is the
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But or just straight to the point.
you know,
If it doesn't, that's it.
yeah. So if someone
Remember
if you're
that she visited us last
then you can do that.
No,
That's what it knows.
But if you're divorced, then it has to be
bro.
Give artistic names and shit.
Artistic
Artistic names by equally.
All right, let's come back. All right, now we're gonna go to the male side. We went over two female. Again, the first one is peacemaking. She wants you to say I'm sorry. The next one is loyalty. She needs to know that you're committed, and that's why she's asking for reassurance. All right, let's go to the guys one. Insight. Appreciate his desire to analyze and counsel. Is it Genesis' turn, or is it Juanita? Okay, Juanita.
A wake-up call. She had little or no respect for her husband. Behind his back, she constantly put him down, mocking him and making fun of his ideas and opinions. One day, while shopping, she thought it would be interesting to stop at his office just to see where and how he worked. When she got there, she couldn't help but see that her husband's co-worker, his boss, even his attractive young secretary, gave him high respect. She felt shame and a little fear as this young woman looked up to her husband and admired him.
Next.
She made it to the car, got in, and burst into tears. She thought of all the times she had put him down and made fun of him behind his back. And then he hit her. She didn't disrespect him because of his actions towards her or because he was a lousy husband. She realized the real problem was that he wasn't what she wanted him to be. She had forgotten to realize the things. He had a lot of ability and insight she was ignoring, and he wanted
The same, yeah.
kind of respect that home that he received.
Okay, does that make sense? So she was like, oh, my husband, you know, he's not that great. You know, he doesn't have good opinion or advice or things like that. But he saw him at work and he saw that many people were actually respecting him. And so he realized, oh, the way I'm treating him is not very respectful. Let's keep going.
This kind of wife is not unique. I've talked to many just like her. She thinks her husband has little to teach her, little wisdom to share about much of everything. After all, she believes she's the one who has to run the house, raise the children, and make the decisions. A question that wives need to honestly ask themselves is, do I have an attitude of self-righteousness? You may believe, as many women do, that you are a better person than he is and that he needs to change.
Okay. So it's this concept of, like, we actually joke around, and males actually joke around by saying this too. They always say, like, wives say things like, oh, I took care of my kids. My like kid and my like I have a little kid and a big kid kind of a thing. And so it's this concept, like when you start saying these kind of comments, then it becomes true. Even if you might be saying it in a joking way, then it's like, oh, my husband is someone that I gotta take care of now. And there is part of that too, the truth to that, and that's a good thing. But in a sense where it's like, oh, he doesn't know, he's making dumb decisions, and I can't listen to him. I gotta make all the decisions now instead. So, like self-righteousness, this kind of attitude can sneak in there. Let's continue on. Peace.
In many marriages, it is all too easy for a wife to write off a husband's insight and suggestions because she thinks she doesn't need them or he has no right to give them. But I believe husband and wife together need to examine any situation where something is amiss and try to come to a solution, or if needed, seek godly
Okay, so again, there's two reasons, right? She goes, no, I'm okay. I can do it by myself. I don't need him. Or you can say, no. He has no rights. He's wronged me before. He's made mistakes before. So no, I'm not gonna. He doesn't have any rights to give any advice or make decisions. Let's keep going.
Most husbands see themselves as unrighteous and their wives as righteous. Although this is inaccurate, they tend to believe this is because she is the only one who constantly seems to have to be on top of things, such as correcting the children and him. She slips into an attitude of self-righteousness without realizing it. It is often subconscious, but a subtle judgment spirit comes over a woman.
Yeah. And again, that's why, again, not for every single marriages and not every single relationship, but that's why like men joke around saying, oh, she's like becoming like my mom. She's like nagging at me, telling me what to do, and I don't want to go home. Because I don't want to go home and just be told what to do and be belittled. Okay? Whereas, and then that's why some, again, not all men, but some men, they like to stay longer at work. Because they're like, at least at work, I'm being respected. When I go home, I'm not even being respected. Let's continue on.
Self-righteousness can deceive you more than any other sin. If you see yourself as far better than your husband, especially in the spiritual realm, he will back away from you spiritually and probably in many other ways. As the years pass, your husband will stop giving advice at almost every level. What can he say to a person who is always right and righteous? He sees himself with all the problems while she has none. So he grows silent, hearing more censor. Aware of his silence, a wife often says, why are you always quiet? And he winds up thinking, if I say something, I'm in trouble. If I don't say something, I'm in trouble. But if I don't say something, I'm in less trouble.
That's right. Okay. So again, this is what a lot of like long-term marriages, not every relationship, but it turns out this way where it's like the guy stops saying stuff. Okay. The reason why is because every time he said something, she dismissed it. Okay. So he's like, okay, I'll just say nothing, and I just won't hang out at the home very much either. So it just, again, it's not an energizing cycle, it's a crazy cycle. It actually pushes him away more and more and more. Okay? Agree, disagree, just your thoughts. Go back to your groups. What do you guys think? Go for it.
I have a lot of coworkers that don't like to go home.
But there could be many reasons. Do you think this could... Oh, this is... Yeah.
First thing they're like, oh man, I want to go home with my wife or whatever. Okay, I'll take like sit down and talk to her, see if things can work out. Like, no, I'd rather just not deal with it. I'm just gonna stay at work. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I could totally agree with it. And they're usually like the more hardworking guys too. So like at work, like they are viewed as
why.
No, I mean like even like most managers, they'll be like, oh, it's a good work, it's a good work.
Everything's okay.
So trained at home.
We can discuss it.
Yeah, instead of being at home, they stay at work and do their crap.
Doesn't matter.
At work, you're admired for your work.
Yeah.
At home, you're disrespected. You're like treated like you're nothing. I'm above you. You're always making
I
mistakes.
really respect and like really thank
No, but I have a coworker directly that correlates to this, and I'm always like, dude, go home, go home.
You can be yourself.
No, but go home is not the solution though. Because going home is going to actually make it
He
worse.
stays out till like 9, 10 o'clock at night, like almost every day. I'm like, dude, like he unnecessarily just stays out. He just says, yeah.
You should get him this book.
Or invite him over.
like, you know,
He's working, he works Saturdays, he'll work as many days as he can.
I just, you know, check the conditions and then like told my.
No, I know.
Richard, what do you think?
I told them.
But like,
Okay, I think we need to go to
I guess I can relate to that.
She never
But
did too.
I witness it more than it happening to me.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
And then
Like I see like so many people in relationships where the guys just like they're just defeated. Like, they don't know it. They're just like accepted it and that's their fate and that's just the way it's gonna be.
Yeah.
They're putting like their tail is like between their legs all day.
Yep.
There's two ways we can
You need to man up, bro.
then the relationship's gonna break if you man up.
Well, you gotta find a way so she can respect you for who you are. Because if you don't, then
Some people are used to doing it the other way.
Do you guys think it's? Do you guys think it's like a new generation thing?
You know, not just
Like this is happening from all of men?
That's why all hotels and everywhere.
I mean, definitely more, I think, in the 21st century, though.
Yeah,
With the rise of feminism,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah,
Yeah.
Why? And then she agrees that this is more
I think
convenient.
feminism needs to
Even
go.
this
No.
Is what?
Needs to go.
Needs to go?
Yeah.
not only that, but when you have like women that are making more money than men,
Dude, they make more money than men, dude.
Hey, sugar mama, slow down on that train of thought, guys.
I don't know why they're complaining, bro. They make more money. They get jobs easier.
I didn't want to change that little thing. I really like, oh.
No, but like equal rights for sure. Like I'm all about
Hey,
that.
sugar mama.
I don't know about it. Like, yeah, you know, right? Where does it stop?
Okay, yeah, I see what there's like a weird gray area, but
Okay, like you said, they get me. We don't get me.
yeah, for sure, exactly.
I realized that I was doing the same thing.
I'm calling you. I can't do this.
They should do paternity leave.
Hey, how
Your,
about
my wife's pregnant. Can I take a vacation where you pay me?
2 months? You know,
2 months. No, I feel that, but like the only thing I don't like about like the feminism thing is off topic, my bad. But like it's like they think they're better than us and stuff. Wouldn't you just speak?
Yeah.
they want to be treated equal, but then when you go out for dinner, they want you to do when they want you to take care of it. I'm like, where's this equality?
I think they
Like, I rub your back, but you don't rub
I feel like they expect it because of like the history. It's like they've been more oppressed or something, so they're just like getting back at us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Emotions.
There's definitely truth to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And or
They're probably overdoing it, though.
Or their daddy's little girls who are
Oh, I hate princesses, man.
Yeah, they have a high status. It's like, oh, I want this. This is what I'm used to. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't need that kind of money. You know. So, ain't no honey, no money. No money, no honey. You know what I'm saying?
No money, no honey?
I've heard that one.
Like it at the same time. She was kind of like.
But you just say, I could get you hot eyebrows though.
I love.
Your brows will be always bone.
Yeah, also you could just look good for other men.
She knows a lot of things.
He's like,
Matter of fact, get uglier. I'm sorry.
Get uglier so you can stay with me.
I'm the first one
Mess
who
her up
goes to
such
get out of the work.
Nobody would like you.
You pay the
You messed me up. I love you. Just the way you are.
you pay the microbill to mess up.
It's kind of like a very difficult or picky patient, right? Like,
This is not for them. This is for me. I like. This is the way I
a
like.
little bit
People,
sometimes,
like, for,
not
like,
most of the time.
What I've seen from
Not
my
a
friends,
easy
like,
person
they're
to
really
trust.
protective too.
But
Like, they're very
one
like,
good habit that I have,
like, you know, like
once
in your
I
face.
walk out of the clinic,
They are, they really
I don't
are.
worry
That's
about
what I've
it. I
noticed
just
from my
I'm
friends.
gonna feel it.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, my wife is
Those with the guys.
really coming for me, like to come home there, like much.
Then again, I'm not crazy years, so like she didn't have to work on me much.
She was always like,
But I actually I was dating for like 3 years.
Oh, dude, that place is awesome.
There's a lot of like.
Oh, that place is amazing. It's good eats, bro.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna meet the coworkers and.
All right, let's come back together. Oh, 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds.
I know that was the biggest mistake. They try to like, you know, work, like, get a relationship with their higher, like, you know, supervisor.
No, it takes forever. You gotta go all out.
I kind of understood.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't been working out at all. But because I'm doing triathlon and so I haven't been lifting weights at all. Are you still doing it every week?
I'm doing keto.
Oh, you're still doing keto.
Yeah, but like I feel like I'm losing muscle mass.
Are you losing weight?
Like 10 pounds.
Oh,
But then I still look the same. I don't know why.
yeah. I can't tell either. But that's not a bad thing, I guess.
I'm gonna,
That's actually good because you're still working out. That means like you lost probably more fat. I think so.
yeah, I'm gonna probably go back on carbs soon.
Really? All right, let's finish up with our last one. Relationship. Appreciate his desire for shoulder-to-shoulder friendship. Okay, so let's see what this one is all about. Is it Todd's turn already?
No,
Okay.
I think you finished.
Okay, my turn. Just sit here with me. They had been married for just 7 years when they came for me for help because they kept getting into what they called huge fights. How did the fight start? I asked. She explained that she would be in the kitchen cleaning and he would call her from the room where he was watching TV. Honey, said the guy, why don't you come out and hang out with me?
Thinking this was an opportunity to relate, she would go to her husband and start talking to him. No, he would tell her, don't talk. I just want you in here with me. She would get frustrated and angry, and she says, I could be doing other things rather than just sitting here with you. Sitting?
Sitting.
The crazy cycle has started.
Okay, do you guys see what's happening? Okay, so he said, hey, come and stay with me, like stay next to me. Okay, and she's like, oh, this is great. Let's talk. Remember how we talked about this? How girls, they need to talk. And this is very important, to be open and to be communicating. And so, oh, this is great. Now we can communicate. And he's like, no. Like, don't bother me. I'm watching TV. Just sit here next to me. And girls like, but why though? Like, why should I be here? Like, what's the point of me being next to you if we're not going to talk? Let's keep going.
This is how men communicate by sharing experiences. Women share experiences by talking about them to each other, examining and infusing the experiences with their impressions and emotions. Men are different. They share their experiences by sharing an activity. This is what your husband wants to do with you.
Okay, so again, men, they rather do things together, and then women, they rather share, like verbally share things together. Okay, and that's how they share experiences. Let's keep going.
One wife decided to go deer hunting with her husband, who uses the bow and arrow. She helped them set up the blind, and they both sat there for hours waiting for a deer to happen by. They saw nothing, they shot at nothing, and they said nothing. Finally, they headed back to the car. To this point, she had said not one word the entire time. As they were walking down the trail, her husband turned to her and said, "This was awesome."
Okay, let's keep going.
Research studies confirm that male preference for shoulder-to-shoulder communication with little or no talking. Instructions for each pair of female and each pair of male were exactly the same. Enter a room, sit down on 2 chairs, and talk if you wish.
Okay, so they did research of all ages, and they said, okay, two female, female, male. You guys go in together into a room and a chair and do whatever you guys want to do. You guys can talk, you guys can sit, do whatever you want. And let's see what they did. What happens?
As the test proceeded, every pair of females, no matter what their ages, reacted the same way. They turned their chairs towards each other so they could be face to face, lean forward and talk. The males reacted differently. They didn't turn towards each other. They sat side by side, looking straight ahead except for an occasional glance.
Okay, so again, this is what you see. Okay, female naturally, they want to face each other, have a communication, and guys, they're just like, okay, I'll just stand next to you or sit next to you and just maybe we'll talk, maybe we'll no. Let's keep going.
Because the females turn towards each other or literally turn their chairs to face one another for direct face-to-face contact, the researchers assumed they would have the most intimate conversations. Actually, the most open and transparent of all the pairs, male or females, were the 10th grade boys.
Interesting, right? So again, you would think that they're not looking at each other, they're not talking that much, and you would think, oh, they're not having a good intimate time, and yet what they wrote afterward, they were like, hey, that was great. Like they felt like they had a good time. Just sitting next to each other and just like saying, not opening up so many things, but they were able to still have some good conversations according to them. Let's keep going.
What can a wife do? Try seeing his needs for shoulder-to-shoulder friendship. If he has closed you off and gone quiet, the way to draw him out is by simply being with him during some activity. Don't talk, just be with him. Do this over a 12-week period and watch what happens. I can almost guarantee he'll start talking. Will he necessarily look at your face to face? Probably not. He will talk for a long time at first. Probably not. Will you be energized by this? Probably not. He will be energized by this. Yes.
Okay. So again, you guys could try this out. Okay, if the guy's not opening up, guy's closed down, then the best thing you can do is actually just go be quiet and just share activity with him. Just be near him. And then after that, maybe he'll start opening up instead. Okay? This is one of those things that's very difficult because and then you guys can see, girls, you guys can see why men have hard time with face-to-face, because male in general, they rather have the shoulder to shoulder. And then guys, you guys can see how this can be difficult for girls as well, because they're used to the face-to-face. So this is one of those things relationally, like guys and girls, they communicate differently. And so we have to understand each other and know that we have our differences as well. Okay, what do you guys think? Get together with your partners. Agree, disagree, can you resonate with this? Go for it.
3 months.
It's like quiet for 3 months.
So maybe I'm not.
She must love him.
So we don't have any problem talking.
But sometimes you don't need all those medications.
It depends also on the type of guy, because some of them don't like being watched.
Ellie's friend's mother from school.
Kate Lauren.
So you know.
Like me, I'm cool with it, but I know some people that are like, no, I don't want anybody around me. Like, they'd rather just be like themselves. So
I think that might be
it just depends.
like whatever I'm doing, I'm like,
So it's major surgery.
I kind of like my alone time.
Anyway, so like.
No, but if you're in a relationship,
But it
not
depends on
like,
the-
of course, everybody needs their
But
alone
even,
time.
even in a relationship, like I want to be distant. Like I want my alone time.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So like, for them to be like,